we met ambassadors from other nations that are currently the ambassador to Nepal. The first president of Nepal, met him and spoke with him for quite a while, and just other, members of parliaments, other former ministers, current ministers, and was able to engage really with just who's who of the Nepali government. So that's always good when we get to talk about who we are and what we do to a nation that's really seeking developmental help. That gets things really exciting for us. So it was a lovely time. And in fact, from that time, now in just about 2 weeks' time, we are bringing a handful of our Nepali contacts over into the US and going to be hosting them here for some time. So that will be a great time to just deepen those relationships and look for further opportunities inside of their country. With that connection also came a connection to a nearby country as well, from an official invitation from high government leadership. I guess that's all I'll say. But the opportunities are there and doors just keep opening for Kula. We never imagined the people we would be sitting in front of. And those are the opportunities we're getting right now. And we're getting formal invitations from government leaders in countries. And that's just exciting. It truly is a testament to what we're building and how it can help so many people around the world. So with that, I also spent a few days in Dubai, again, doing some, I guess we'll just call it admin work, and working on admin work with some of our goals in Dubai, and working with our Chief Compliance Officer, Paul Jackson, as well. So yeah, good times in Dubai and great times in Nepal. So that's really the overall encompassing summary of our travels. And then of course we had a couple holidays in there, right? With Christmas and the New Year's. A lot of these offices shut down. Things were a little bit quiet for us as far as hearing from regulators, but other than that, it really just comes from our travel updates. So I'll hand it off to Chris, and you can kind of walk us through our app if you can.
Thank you. Yeah, let me just get this going, share my screen here. And can you see the screen okay, Micah? You're good? Great. Yep. Right, okay, so yeah, we wanted to just take some time to show you some of the stuff that we have built last year, and this has been ready for quite a while, but we realized we've not really showcased it in the community, and we wanted to give you guys an opportunity to see what we've done. So this is a demo version, and I'll just kind of talk us through it. Please feel free to ask questions, start posting if you have on any of the trips that Sam and Micah have just shared about, or anything to do with this as well. So when you come to our app, basically when you've got Kula tokens and your wallet is loaded with Kula tokens, and we'll be providing documentation on how that happens and how that works, essentially be able to come to kind of the interface for how you can use those tokens to both propose and vote on things that you would like to see happen within the project. There's a discussion place in Discord where you'll be able to chat about the project. If you want to read through the various constitutional documentations, you can take a look at the second tab here and just go through that, which we're not going to go through now, which is because it's quite a lot of words. But basically the overall app is a place in which you can start to interact with the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So if you want to, look at the votes that are happening and things that are going on in the DAO, you'll see these listed here. But you can also, take some time if you want to actually propose something within the DAO. You can take some time and decide what you want to see happen. So let's just say, let's do one, cancel the AMA, which would be a great project to do. Add files if you need to, and take the preview of what that would look like, but you can also submit it. Once that proposal has been submitted, it actually comes through to a compliance function. So we do some oversight and due diligence on it, and we can find that like you have to move the faces all over the place. You can find the place where that proposal came through, cancel the AMA, and we can look at it. And so someone that's in the compliance function can say, that's a great proposal. We're going to pass that through to be voted upon. And then that gets approved. If we could look back in the voting section now, you'll see that the AMA, if we've not filled up the process, cancel the AMA has now become active for the DAO community to vote on. So if you haven't proposed that, someone else has, you'll see that proposal come through and you think, what, this is I agree with that. There'll be a lot more copy and some documentation for you to read through, and you can basically cast your vote. And again, once the votes have reached a certain threshold, those votes pass through, and then you'll see those executed in another part of our app, so you can see what's going on with regard to the overall progression of things that people propose and vote on. That's the basic function of what can happen inside our app. But also over here on the back end, you can look at, again, what at the moment we've got regional DAOs, the token listed here. This is just a demo version. But again, for people that are using this app at the regional DAO level, they'll be able to actually redeem some of their tokens out for cash to their crypto account and or fiat. But also, we're to see, your Kula token availability here based on what wallet you've attached to it. So this is just kind of a little bit of the first view. This is a very early demo, so it's a little bit more upgraded since this point. And we'll be adding more and more features throughout the year once we've got past launch, and we've got more time then to be adding additional features with our development. We've got quite a few different features that we will add this year to make this a lot more user friendly, and also to start looking at assets and geographical profiles of the various projects that we've launched in. But this is all interfacing in a way that we're all used to, in terms of either on our mobile phone or on a web browser. But what's going on behind that is all of the blockchain connected hashes, the decisions made, all getting recorded on chain in the background, which allows us then to provide that level of accountability that's different to most projects in terms of what's happening on the ground in the projects. So we're really excited to show this to you just as an initial first view of what goes on and what's happening in different components of the project, and how you can interact with it once we've got to that launch and you've got your Kula tokens in your wallet and able to engage and enter this app.
Excellent.
So with that, I just pass back to you. And again, just any questions that you guys would like to ask about that, and please feel free to post them, and we would love to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, real quick, we're just kind of, again, talk about just kind of the last couple of weeks of the year, where obviously radio silence from us, or for us. We didn't get much from regulators. We didn't get much even from lawyers, etc. But what we are doing in the background is, we were kind of talking about this at our founders meeting yesterday at the beginning of the week, is that we feel this transition from building to really tying up loose ends. We're in this space now where we see the finish line close. We're more confident than ever that this is going to launch and do better than we expected. But the fun for us is kind of feeling that transition from building and creating and making giant decisions to making the smaller, more minute decisions that tie up loose ends to get us to that finish line. And so in the background, there's a lot of legal things going on still, creating entities, forming different organizations to make sure that we're structurally sound and legally protected. But really it comes down to this idea that we're tying up loose ends. And that's the most fun thing for us right now, is that feeling of the last stretch to the finish line. So with that, now we'll open up the floor to questions. We've got a couple already in. Just curious, what's been your biggest unexpected challenge so far? And are you still working through it? Goodness, I love these types of questions, because I honestly think sometimes all three of us will have three different completely different answers. And I think mine is the biggest obstacle for me. This is a pretty general one, but the project has just taken longer than I ever thought. Nothing has worked to our timeline. And that's a lot due to many different variables. You know, we're waiting on governments, we're waiting on legal teams, we're waiting on a lot of people. We don't get to control every aspect of it. And so with that has come this delay on the project. And every month we get delayed, that just means more fundraising. It means more, you know, how do we make it through this month? How do we keep the morale in the team? How do we keep the hype in the community? All of that is stuff we struggle with. So yeah, we're still struggling with it until we get that green light to launch. And again, we're waiting on that. There's nothing else, nothing more we can do to make that come faster. But so for me, I think the biggest obstacle has just been the timeline.
Sam?
Anybody else?
Yeah, I can talk about my biggest unexpected challenge. So I'm kind of like a more of a technical, I guess, strategy type of person. So I thought it would be like the Kula has so many aspect to it. You know, we are the first to tokenize the governance, first to tokenize the assets that are natural resource based, the first to have a patent pending on dynamic token price, updates, and a lot of firsts, right? And even the first to, get regulated, or hoping in the process of getting regulated. Um, but that's not what impressed the community, I would think. At least I come to the realization of that. I think it's really the ability to tell the story, the Kula story, and how we impact the community in the real manner. That's what people care about, and that's how we can find like basically our people. So that to me is the biggest challenge, because it's that has nothing to do with technically how we do, thing A through Z, right? It's really the people that we are impacting. So that to me is it's a challenge, but it's also a wonderful thing to learn how to do. I think, if you look at the world leaders, the biggest, political leaders or business leaders are fantastic storytellers. And that is something that we are learning how to do. So that's me.
Yeah, and I think my answer to that question would be just before, kind of in the last month or so, I think I went through a week where I had probably 7 or 8 different conversations, and someone used the phrase, well, this is a chicken and egg situation in one way or the other. And it's like, well, you can't do this without that, but you can't do that without this. And I think I never expected the level of complexity, from a technological level through to a legal level to a financial level, where there are so many dependencies between different areas that, because what we're trying to achieve in the project is unique, and it is different, and it's not really been done before. And how many times we've sat with regulators and they're scratching their heads thinking, well, you fit this box, but it's not really that box, so you need this. And then, but again, it gets into that language of you can't do this without that. And almost the point is like, well, can we just take one of them and just try with the chicken and see if it makes eggs? And then there's usually probably stiff penalties if you don't have an egg first. So just that back and forth process for the last 3 years, I think, has been at times infuriating. And on another level, we've really pushed hard to press through those questions because, well, we think we can, and we need to, and it's important that we do because of what Sam said. Underneath it, there's a pretty simple idea and a story that says we want to see communities get impacted fairly, and so it's worth the effort and the energy. So I think that's been, on one level, the biggest obstacle. I didn't expect to become semi-professional in these different areas, and I wouldn't say I'm professional at any of them, but I think we've all learned so much in all these different components of what we tried to achieve and build, that we never ever expected we would know about or have to learn about to get here. And I'm talking about a team of 30 people that are in that box, so that we've all had to learn exponentially to get where we're at with, I don't know, accountants that are doing marketing and dentists that are doing accounting and yada yada, fill in the blanks. We're all doing different things outside of our skill sets in many ways, and that's been as much as a challenge and an obstacle, it's also been really quite fulfilling, and we've all learned so much through the process. So I guess that would be my answer.
Excellent. Good. The second question is Nepal the country most eager to work with you? Any other nation collaborations you can tell us about? Nepal is really eager. The problem with Nepal is we've got to adjust some of their legislature. And that was in process. Laws were just about to be changed, and the procedure for that was taking place. And then they had a change of government. And so now conversations are not starting all over, because I still have great relationship with the opposing party, and we're managing both sides of the aisle, as they say. It's just now that you've got different ministers in that position, you have a different prime minister in that position. Again, I've met most of them, and so we just have to have those conversations, really just educate them all over again. But what's come out of that is another country that is wide open to what we want to do, and the concept of doing some of the things we want to do in Nepal could be done in this other nation very quickly, almost as a proof of concept to Nepal as to what we want to do. And when they change their laws, this is what they can expect. And so I can't talk about which nation that is and the connection we have just yet, but that will be announced as soon as as soon as we make that trip. We've also had the opportunity to do a workshop for the government in Zambia, and many of their government leaders were excited about what we were doing there as well. And so again, it was that same thing of, hey, show us your proofs of concept of what you're doing in Lusangazi, what you're doing with the mine, what you're doing with water. Even the Minister of Agriculture said, show us what you can do with this farmland. And if you can do it, then we'll scale it at a much bigger scale. So yeah, those are the two nations we've announced and we've spoken with. But we've had the opportunity to meet government leaders in other nations as well that are still just kind of just beginning those talks, those conversations. Like I said, one formal invite from another nation as well. So I'm sorry we can't really divulge much outside of that.
I'll take this next question on when is Kula launching, which we get asked multiple times by many of you.
A day.
A day, yeah. and we understand we understand the why of that question. We really do, and we live and breathe it ourselves on a daily basis. And so, as Micah was saying earlier, a lot of the reason of our delay is waiting on regulators to give us the green light. We don't have a date, and we're not going to give a date that's concrete, because if that slips, it just doesn't keep looking good if we keep giving dates and moving. So we're not going to jump into it's Wednesday at 12 p.m. on this day or whatever. We're not going to go there, but we are really confident that things are in a really clear space, and the different things that we're engaged in at the moment are really, like Micah said, on that last 100-meter stretch, really, in terms of moving to the point where we can say, okay, this is when it will be. And we're really excited, and we'll be excited to announce that soon in this year. And yeah, looking forward to it. So that's the best answer we can give right now. But just thank you for your patience with us and sticking with us through the process as we've been working in the background to get through the hoops we've had to jump through.
Excellent. The next question is, how are different countries or governments digesting the potential of the blockchain tech and Kula collaborations from one official to the other? Yeah, great question. We've met with governments that really run the gamut, to a country like Nepal, who has criminalized everything blockchain just because they want to protect their citizens from being scammed, to now a formal invitation to a country that's wide open to crypto and excited about crypto, and would be a much easier route to establishing collaborations. And then you kind of have countries like Zambia, who's in the middle, that sees it all around them in Africa, the adoption of crypto and blockchain in Africa, but maybe just a lack of education or even misinformed on what it does or how it operates. And so we've really met with governments that kind of run the gamut here. So yeah, not all the same reaction to blockchain and to Kula, but once the education takes place, that's when you get even countries like Nepal that have criminalized it. That's when they start to go, oh yeah, okay, maybe, you know, we can change some laws. Maybe we can do some things that you know, this, now I'm educated, this makes sense as to why it's beneficial for our country. All right, the last question is, how is the pipeline looking for new and upcoming projects? Are there multiple applications like the Malaysia Timber project?
I could jump in.
Yeah.
The reality is that we've got 3 solid projects on the books that we're in active development on at the moment. And really, because our focus is on getting the project launched and doing what it needs to get done, taking on more and more projects for capitalization. And once we have launched, it's important that we keep an eye on that ball, but it's not necessarily been the focus, right? We've got the proof of concept, we've got the emergent and first projects to bring into the ecosystem lined up. So once we've launched, we can capitalize. And then much of the work post-launch is establishing those initial projects and then start to bring on new projects to keep growing the ecosystem. I would say, without question, on a weekly basis, we have 1 or 2 opportunities come across our desk that we look at, and that someone either sends our way or says, hey, this would be a great project to jump on. The problem with that is, again, it's just capacity of just staff time and the financial clout to engage them and capitalize them, which will come in time. So there are stuff that's like out there that we're kind of, you know, keeping warm. There's the main central projects that we've got ready to go that will be aggressive and move on quickly, and then we'll start growing the ecosystem from there post-launch. So there's lots to come. And I think, like Sam said earlier, the most encouraging part of that Malaysia was they sought us off our website, right? And that's been quite brilliant, and we're excited for more of those, honestly, as they come. And then the other thing that does happen, once you've really engaged and educated with one, there's about 6 more projects, and we say, well, we could do that over here, or we could do that in this way, in this place. So with our initial project in Zambia, there's like 3 or 4 more lined up that we can do. And again in Nepal, and again in Malaysia, that there's the secondary and tertiary projects that come pretty quickly on the back of that. So we will not be short of work, and believe it or not, there's always projects that want investment all over the planet. And so this project's never going to be without that problem, I don't think.
Good. Okay. Another question came in. On the Kula website, you have MOUs on 2 different mines, Emerald and Gold, with Silver Storm Mining Ltd. You haven't spoken much about. Are you able to elaborate more on these projects, and are they still valid? Yeah, these are a little bit of those secondary and tertiary projects that Chris was just talking about, where we've established a connection. And you guys feel free to bolster whatever I say, but we've established a connection on the ground, but our capacity to capitalize, and that's what it really comes down to. We establish MOUs, which if you don't know, it stands for Memorandum of Understanding, basically saying, hey, we would like to work together. These are the next steps for each party's due diligence and the vetting process. And then from there, we would move to a contract. We can announce MOUs, and we have announced MOUs, but we aren't going to go into contract negotiations until we've got the capital to fund it. And what we've done so far has been capitalization through personal funds or angel investor funds. We still have not taken on any VC or institutional money. And so with that, we have a capacity at what we can fund and what we can capitalize. So a lot of these MOUs that we have out there will be moved to contract after launch. And then from there, you'll start to hear a lot more about the details, et cetera, moving forward. So a lot of the capitalization needs for these regional DAOs will be filled once we launch and start selling the tokens worldwide. Excellent. Oh, another couple came in here. What is your sense of how far ahead Kula is from any other organization trying to do this type of thing? Sam, you got...
Yeah, I can speak to that. It's kind of hilarious because when we started, thinking about this DAO structure, wrapping down around asset, providing governance over something to make it stewardship, we were guessing we're like probably 2 years ahead, if not 3 years ahead of industry. And what, 3 years passed, and I still think we're 2 years ahead. Because if you look around, a lot of DAOs are one-off, and people use it as if like it's like some kind of a meme, right? What's the hottest topic of the day? And you look across the blockchain industry, the crypto projects, we're one of the best use cases of blockchain out there, and one of the most legitimate projects out there with real asset, really implementing a DAO governed, real asset backed token. So nothing like Kula it has been seen by the world. So how far ahead? I think they're like, if huge companies decided to step into the decentralization world and decide to decentralize themselves, then they can certainly, catch up quickly. But that is a huge hurdle, right? Because somebody has to say, I'm willing to give up all the stuff, control. You need to have that mindset of really believing decentralization is better for the community, for the participants, in order to take this route. So we are quite ahead in that.
Excellent.
Maybe I can ask this question for you to answer, Micah, because I think you're best situated to answer it. With the new incoming administration in the US being more friendly towards crypto, will this be helpful with Kula's efforts worldwide?
Absolutely, yes. That's a resounding yes. We are, we're pursuing regulation in, honestly, in multiple jurisdictions. That's always been the plan of Kula. We're not going to stop at just one or two. We're going to pursue licenses and regulation in as many jurisdictions as possible. And now that the US has shifted, maybe a few years too late, but they've shifted nonetheless, the opportunity to seek regulation and actually be licensed out of the US is absolutely an option for Kula. And once we do that, they talk about some of these jurisdictions in tiers. You gotta have your tier 3, your tier 2, and tier 1. And just like exchanges that we would list on, centralized exchanges, you have to work your way up. The tier 1s aren't going to look at you until you've spent some time in the tier 3s and tier 2s. And kind of the same thing with our regulatory space around the world. We're going to have to pay our dues in the tier 3s and the tier 2s, but eventually these tier 1s are going to go, okay, come operate, set up an entity in our borders. And I think the US is going to be one of those. Excellent. Well, we have for January, we've suspended our travel for the founders just because we expect to have lots of board meetings, making decisions. We can't be in sub-Saharan Africa when we get our green light to launch. So we want to be ready. So we've suspended a lot of our travel for the month of January, at least, maybe even into February. But we are nose to the grindstone. We are head down and working hard, getting this thing to the finish line. And we just want to thank you all for being a part of our AMAs every month, whether you're here on Zoom or on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in. Anything else, gentlemen, that you want to add before we go?
All good. Thanks, Micah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good here.
Excellent. Well, we'll see you all in February then. Thanks for joining our AMA.